All right, part three of the darkness that comes before. Um, this one, I don't know if I had the most fun with it is the right word, but it was at this point I'm getting my footing, and this was a really character focused section, so
Hmm.
easier to read, I thought. And um, I really should have Googled what harlot meant last time
Yeah.
when I was
You didn't know what
speculating on.
Harlot meant?
I mean, it must have slipped my mind at some point. But I was thinking, is this going to be when we're getting some Kellis action? No, this was Esmonette being the core character of this section,
Yes.
and a tough read for sure. Just going to be honest. So, first of all, I guess I will throw out the disclaimer that this is going to be full spoilers of the darkness that comes before up to the end of part three. And with that being said, um, the focus of this section is on Esmonette. We return to Akamion as well, but in general, you could look at this from one perspective and be like, wow, this is a really like it's a portrayal of how cruel this world is to someone in Esmonette's position and all that. But the truth is, while the conditions of this world don't necessarily match our own, the emotional manipulation and the treatment she receives, like these are all human emotions with real world parallels. So, like even in our modern world, to be honest. So it was tough, and there is definitely a character I feel for being Esme. I know last time we were going back and forth a bit about you know are any of these characters rootable for, but
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
she goes through the ringer,
Yeah,
and
she
yeah,
definitely does. So Esme is one of my favorite characters. This was my probably the most. I don't know if I would say favorite anymore. I said last time. I said I remember saying favorite section. This is the section that kind of stood out to me. At least for me, for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I can do a quick um, overview of basically this chapter. I mean, nothing like actually impactful happens really. Nothing like very like plot focus happens.
in chapter nine, you mean?
Yeah, for chapter 9. Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah, go for it.
so again, like we start off with mostly this chapter was mostly Esmond. I think there might have been some Akami in this chapter, very briefly.
Yeah, I believe
Um,
so. I believe so.
so mostly it was just her talking about her past. Well, I won't say her past, but mostly about her experience as a prostitute in Sumna, and how she goes about her relationship, her customs. So she's very much wants to be like you. I think I mentioned last episode about how she wants to be more involved because it feels like it makes her life feel more important than it might actually be. But I mean, you can argue whether how much value her life really is, but I'm not going to get into the philosophy of that. But she, that's how she kind of processes her life now through living through experience. Others lived experience, so mostly her customers are. She asks them questions about just like experiences, and she takes, and none of them, other than Aka, realize that she's using those her customers mostly as tools of knowledge to better be more worldly than she actually is. So that was mostly kind of what like she was like reminiscing and talking about that in her past. And she at the end of this chapter, she well, I guess the start of this chapter, she was meeting with one of the priests talking about one of her customers at the end. Was meeting talking about Inru, just seeing if it was an actual suicide or not. And together, it seems the story's been consistent, corroborated across all boards. After that, she kind of goes over that mental thought process of basically with her relationship with her customers, and particularly with Aka, and talking about why are you still taking customs? You know, I will take care of you. And she's like, I know you're gonna leave. I can't just abandon my custom if you're just gonna leave me. And he ended up leaving. So I mean, she's right. And
Surprise,
again,
surprise.
yeah, it makes me mad because Aka's like, the dude's like, oh man, just he's just so self-absorbed and feels betrayed, but and he's got to take it like it's her job. It's not anything personal. It's how she makes a living. There's no other way she can make a living, especially with that tattoo on her hand, which we'll later go into, I think, in the next chapter.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, it's just something that she has to do. There's just nothing really she can really do. So then we get to like the end of this chapter, and we hear about her relationship. One of her customers comes in, a new customer, and basically he does some sort of manipulation. I don't specifically know what.
I get the sense that there was a bit of magical essay going
Yeah.
on here.
Yeah, basically magical sexual assault. So, again, probably should have done the triggers. But yeah, it stirred her emotions. She was more willing, compliable to give answers to his questions. And just as, I mean, Akami knew that somebody was going to come eventually, and he said, as we'll find out in later chapters, to be forthright and forthcoming with the answers. Don't lie, because if you lie, you're just going to get yourself hurt and possibly killed. So I'm pretty sure that's mostly what happened.
Well,
And
one key detail about that customer
oh
when
yeah,
he was done, the black seed,
Black Seed.
which to me I thought was a very fitting indicator
Yeah,
that he was of the consult.
mm,
But still, what goes on in this man R. Scott Baker's mind?
I don't know, Black Seed. And then I guess the only other part, oh snap, was just kind of it was like Aka's like POV of thinking about like just his thought process of the whole situation, him blaming himself in the inner situation, and that's pretty much it. It was like a very short uh, tidbit on that.
And I mean, it is either his fault or the mandate's fault. Either way, even in the case that we're aware, well, even if it was a prompted suicide or attack, as we're aware of, not to say he isn't to blame for putting in ruin that scenario to begin with. But yeah, brutal, and that kind of brings us into the subsequent chapter where uh, Esme, as much as she tried to stand her ground, I suppose, with Akamian, she feels this loyalty to him because, regardless of how she framed the relationship in her mind, he is the one that has given her a sense of security to an extent. At whatever point she feels attached to him, and she feels obliged to leave her life behind, meet up with him over in Monem, and deliver the warning. So we see her venturing out. Some more reflections as well about uh, some past exploits in her career. Um, One particular line that kind of killed me, and it was alluded to that this was actually the father of her child, or
Hmm.
at least um, one of her customers immediately prior. Um, she had he came back for round two, and upon her asking if he had remembered her, he says back, "You must be mistaken. I'd
Yeah,
remember a beauty such as you."
yourself.
So yeah, that was killer. But yeah, so she talks a bit more about something that you were hitting on a little bit about how she tries to extract these stories from her customers and enjoy herself to the extent that she can. One line that I really liked was when she talked about how men needed to be more, and how she tries to essentially extract from her customers what makes them feel important and individualistic in the world. That hit me. And then on top of that, um, just alluding to her speaking about wanting to get the stories and information about the world out of her customers because once she had coupled with them, she felt that this was almost a part of her now, where she could internalize some of this experience as, you know, adjacent to it or whatnot. Something it might be a weird comparison, but something I wanted to ask you about
Mm.
is this an experience you ever almost felt as a reader, where um, George R. R. Martin, one of his famous quotes is that the reader lives 1,000 lives, and the man who does not read lives only one. But in a sense, obviously, the circumstances are much different. But um, do you feel as if those who just try to experience stories and um, dive into other lived experiences uh, might experience a bit of this sort of line of thought? Not to say that everyone who's trying to immerse themselves in fiction immediately thinks of themselves as being able to claim they've had this sort of lived experience, but
Mm.
in the quest for leveraging fiction for means of empathy and adventures and things like that. I don't know if you had any thoughts there. It's a bit of a weird thought experiment, but something
Um,
I got thinking about.
I say it can give you a different perspective. Maybe not a full comprehensive experience. So like I could never really fully experience what Esmondette has gone through as a woman in a world like that, or even just like in our world, if if you were sexual assaulted. I mean, like the power dynamic, it's so much different from men and women. So it is it's something that I personally I don't think I can fully understand. So, but having the idea or having a for trying to find a way to portray that experience, I think is important if you're trying to have a more developed, I say, developed life. So I feel like in that situation, it should take you back. Like so, during some of her scenes, you should take you back, especially in chapter 10 when she's getting pretty much stoned. It should take you back to experiences like, man, women just here just have no agency, and no real control over their livelihood, barring basically, I guess in this case, prostitution or like any really other means of ways of living. It should kind of appall you. It should invoke an emotion or have some type of reflection on that moment. And I think um, that's what books can provide for a reader.
I'm with you there. Where I mean, I think the conclusion you can reach is there's still plenty of value there in um, you know, doing what you can to step into someone else's mind and shoes and um, open yourself up to these sort of experiences from an empathetic perspective. But
Mm.
yeah, which is a bit different than what Esme is going for. But
I know.
you hit on something that comes later in the chapter where um, yeah, she is just getting shunned, stoned, and I believe there's some line in there I didn't write it down, but um, about how she's just surrounded with people with pure hatred towards her for absolutely no good reason.
I know. It's ridiculous.
So yeah, and then I can't remember if it was this chapter or the next where she comes by an accomplice. I'm actually, regardless of whether it was this chapter, I'll hold that because that'll be a chat about in chapter 11. We'll hop over to Kamion, I guess, to review the rest of chapter 10, where he encounters the man he was looking for once he arrives at the moment spot of the Holy War congregation. Zynemis. Do I have that
Zynemus,
right?
yep.
Zynemis. Okay. And did he appear previously? I believe he did, right?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
he was at
Uh,
the when uh God, keep forgetting Proyas's cousin's name is Kalmamunis. When Kalmamunis came storming into the to meet with the Zarias,
the
which is the
Emperor.
king.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and with the bird pooping on him. That chapter, um, Zainim is reached talked out, saying, "Hey, I told you this was not a worthier time, Calmus. Like he's clearly not there." And Zarias was really pissed that he talked out of turns. Like, how dare you talk to an emperor? You're just a servant. And then he
Yeah,
asked for
yeah,
his
right.
name. Yeah. So that was in there. Um, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Kamion arrives and he's greeted with fairly open arms by what do you say? Zynemis.
Yeah. Zynemus. Yeah.
Zynemis. And they roll up on his soldiers who aren't necessarily as welcoming. Because the Kamion is still a sorcerer, and that's frowned
Mm,
upon. Um, now he's essentially trying to sort through in his mind how, even though Zynemis seems to be his most trusted companion, in and
mm,
outside the mandate, um, how can he speak to him? First of all, he's apprehensive to open up about what he's just been through with Inru. Uh, but he's also thinking back as to whether or not he'd been honest with him in the past. This reminded me of Mark Twain quote. I don't actually have the quote on hand, but um, the easiest thing about um, keeping your story straight, or the easiest way to keep your story straight, is to have always told the truth, because then you never have to. There's nothing to think about. And he's not only a sorcerer, but he's a spy, and this is the life he lives. So the dilemma of a Kamiyan. And then
yeah.
I got an absolute kick out of this game that they were playing.
Yeah, the game is a ongoing thing throughout the story. But yeah.
Yeah. Um, so it's this game called Benjuka,
Hmm?
where, and it sort of reminded me, again, I guess it's just another reference to my man George. But in some of the later Song of Ice and Fire books, there's a game that's, I guess, somewhat similar to chess, but it's called Cyvase or Cyvas or something along those lines.
Hmm.
And it's never really explicitly explained what the rules are,
Yeah.
yet you can still see how um, it's thematically relevant to, I guess, what's happening in the scene or um, just things like that. So, similar sort of setup here where we specifically don't get the rules of this game because there are no rules. The whole idea is um, it's the players that are changing the rules, and that's what makes it more similar to life,
Hmm.
where uh, they talk about how intellect is all you need to master, a pure game, but something like this, you need spirit to
Yeah,
master.
spirit. Hmm.
Um, so I thought that was great. Nakamiya was getting very frustrated with it.
Yeah, he's like, he keeps losing. He's like, you keep taking it so seriously. He's like, yeah, it's because I keep losing.
Um, and I mean, everything's just getting under this guy's skin. He had a silver piece that it wasn't. It was like, which wasn't of the original set. Uh, just little things like that are bothering him. Dude's in a bad place.
Yeah,
Um,
he's not in the most stable emotional state right now. He's gone through a lot, and it doesn't help that he can't really get a true good night's sleep like ever.
Definitely. Though it sounds like alcohol to some extent helps with that.
Yeah,
Apparently
it's
they,
other drugs.
yeah, exactly.
Sheesh.
So, I mean, he's here for a purpose. Not only is he keeping watch on the Scarlet Spires who are doing what he can, but he wants to get to the bottom of this Mathanet situation. And as we roll into chapter 11, Proyas, the name that how you pronounce
Yeah,
the
Nurse
prince's name?
Proyas.
Proyas, yeah. So he shows up. He first meets Zynemis, and Zynemis breaks the news about the what was it, the Vulgar Holy War and how things
Mm.
went down. And yeah, he's losing it. I it, let me grab I need to grab my book because there was a particular line that just like, exchange in dialogue that just demonstrated how he just
Oh, what was it
baffled.
when
Yeah,
Proyas was talking about Kalmum, not Kalmum,
yeah, it was
Kalmumets?
Calamunis. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, it was getting the rundown from Zynemus. He tells him when the emperor denied him provisions, blah blah blah. And Proyas is he can't even keep track of the details here. Calamunis marched. The emperor provisioned him. Absolutely contradictory to what maybe so that was enough to set him off and
Mm,
not process the rest of the conversation. Um, so he's upset. Um, what's his name shows up, Confus,
mm.
and Royce is not pleased with his behavior. So, and can I defer to you here to give the breakdown as to what these larger geopolitical relationships are like? And
Yeah, meaning like the relationship between like Conference and um like let's try to say the House of Ikari and Mathanet, or not Mathanet, like Proyas's like
yes,
family and stuff like that.
exactly right. Yeah,
Okay, so from what I know or from what I gather, it's we know, or from this, at least from these chapters, we know that Proyas and Mathanet think that the House of Ikari is going to use the Holy War to reconquer the lands that they've lost from over history, into lost from the Phanom and stuff.
right.
But obviously, we know that the House of Ikari has even, it goes even like another layer. From what I'm thinking, it's more of a weaken the enemies and try to conquer those enemies once they lose all the people for the Holy War, because they want the Holy War to officially fail. And so their strength is weakened, and they can just go conquer their lands and pretty much regather the empire back to like one place. So I mean, it already worked a bit with the Vulgar Holy War. So all the people that contributed there are weak in strength. So a good portion of the Holy War has already been pretty much eradicated. So because of that, there's like, well, in the people's eyes, in the grand scheme of eyes, it seems to be like, okay, well, I gave you guys permission, I cooperated. It's not my fault that the angry, not Norse right, angry dude and Larry and Mo, and I forgot the other one of the Three Stooges. Larry, Curly, and Mo went to go and attack the Phantom for glory to pretty much spite Proyas, and lost. I did my job, and it seems to me that if these three dudes powerful with 100,000 people couldn't do it, then you need my nephew conference to lead you idiots to victory. So basically, it's like sign my indenture, and I can give you conference, and we will succeed, even though it was not. From what the emperors, the House of Ikari is really doing is pretty much just sandbagging on purpose, and they know that they're sandbagging on purpose, but they don't know it's going to be that they're going to sandbag even further to the rate of what they're actually planning to do. So,
Gotcha. Well, clarity very much appreciated. This is all prior to um, Akka's waiting around to hopefully have Zanimus um, coerce Proyas into at least speaking to him, so that he can potentially get some more info on Mathanet. But no sorcerers for this guy. He's not interested. Akka's frustrated. Um, and he's being followed as well at some point, and we later learn this is of someone of the consult later in the chapter. And by the way, before I get into some of the revelations towards the end here, um, I don't know why I'm overthinking this. I think it was last week I was speculating on who I thought Mathanet was or where it came
Hmm.
from. I mean, has to be of the consult.
Okay.
Um,
And why do you
which,
think the console?
so I think it just boils down to the fact that, first of all, they're shrouded in mystery, but also, you know, sort of appearing and uh, following um, Kamiyan around. They're using Esme to get some more info on him. That seems to be our party that's building in terms of or shrouded in the most mystery, but building up in terms of presence right now. Inra's investigation of Mathanet resulted in that whole confrontation, and yeah, I feel like I feel the twist coming on of um, everyone's siding with Kamiyan, the mandate. Um, standing ground in this holy war with someone who's actually of the consult, and I'm sure they won't be too pleased when that revelation comes out. But I could be wrong. I still don't know much about his origins, but that's where my gut feeling is right now.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair assumption. We'll see what if that's true or not. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah, well, fair
so.
enough. But on the topic of the consult,
Hmm.
Sarcellus is the one who was picked up as me and
Hmm.
is really just pulling strings here. Tough, another just absolutely tough watch. She feels safe for the first time, which
Yeah,
is
I know.
he's acting sort of like her people, like she um, uses her previous customers to get information out of them. That's exactly what this guy's doing to her, getting her talking and talking about Kamiyan, uh, you know, challenging her feelings for him, and when he heads back at the very end of the chapter to um, leaves her alone, and um, we have this is another thing that I had to read a couple times to make sure I read it straight. A crow shows up with a human head, and
Hmm.
that would presumably be uh, her last customer with the black seed up in back in Sumo, um, and they are most certainly trying to track Kamian down, but
Hmm.
um, they are aware that he was able to figure out that he was being followed. This might be a tough cookie to crack.
Yeah.
And that's where
Uh-huh.
we leave things off. So yeah, just the running tone of as me being the thread here, and um, just being leveraged by men who, clear on the spectrum of caring about her. We go from obviously about zero, you know,
Yeah.
members of the council purely manipulating her to then basically the best we're getting is Akka, who we know how self-important he is, and
Yeah.
um, what a crappy life he leaves around for her.
Yes.
And yet she's being leveraged as sort of a thread line here to get to him, because at the end of the day, even with Zynemus being his most trusted confidant, the only person who he would be willing to share anything about Inru or his grief or anything they really want to know, it's going through her, because and that's partially because of the feelings he does have for her, and partially just because he thinks of her as lesser. There's no shame. So allegedly.
Yeah.
So tough read, but I thought very introspective and interesting. And in terms of the politics and geopolitical movements, I definitely feel like I've got my footing better than I did last week. So
Yeah. It's. I mean, it's just like you might know more. You might have known more now. Oops, I accidentally muted myself. Sorry. You might
okay.
know more now, or you might know more. Haven't known like the full picture now, or and that because of them kind of telling other people the situation that's going on hand. So like you knew the plan was going on with the Ikuri family, and you knew what's you through Proyas you kind of know what kind of what Mathanet might be thinking, was people speculating because he's still, like you said, he's still shrouded in mystery. But those types of to get like the full scope of things, um, usually dialogue is the part, like actual character dialogue with each other. Usually is the, I feel for me, is the
Yeah,
one of the best ways to connect things.
definitely. And hey, I'm not the only one who's trying to fill in a map here. Kamiyan has started sketching things out, and
Yeah, he
everything's
has
coming
this.
together in moment. But oh, and I love that line too, by the way, about how, and I mean, honestly, just a little piece of life advice from Baker that I'm probably going to start using. You start to draw things out and visualize them. Connections might exist where you didn't see them before. So
Mhm.
I might myself have to start sketching things out as things hopefully start coming together a little more throughout the rest of
Conspiracy theories.
this setup. Yeah, yeah.
I think of the what is that? Was it what's that? I never seen the show Brooklyn Nine Nine. It's the has the what was it? Was it Brooklyn Nine Nine?
I don't know. That's a well that I mean that's a sitcom I haven't seen, but I haven't seen too many crime or things of that nature, so I'm probably gonna miss your reference.
It's a
But
you've seen the you've seen the meme with the guy like at the board it's like pointing to the camera like I will send it. I will find it and I'll send it to you. Um,
and if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be flashed on the screen right about now.
is there any um, are there any character motivations? Do you okay? What do you think are the consults motivations? What do you think they're doing when they're trying to get like they're trying to get Akka? Like for what reason do you think they're trying to get Akka for? I'm just
So,
curious.
okay, yeah. Here's what I do have thoughts here as well, but it hinges on something else. Um, and I don't think this. So basically, I went to the back of the book and I
Mm-hmm.
looked at like I had like seen that map, like a Kamiya's map that he's drawing out
Mm-hmm.
in the glossary. So I'll just say if you like, I'm not sure if you would consider it a spoiler. If so. I'll throw up a spoiler warning here, and like everyone else can drop off if.
You can't
But I
spoil
mean,
me, but yeah.
no, I
Okay.
know I can't spoil you. Um, but Anasarimbor Kellis was listed on that map, and what I'm imagining, the way I feel like he might fit into this is um, Mathanet. Um, wants to use him for some sort of purpose. Now, and so this is where I thought things were a little contradictory because the first apocalypse, where that was the downfall of the Anasarimbors, and I had sort of thought that Kellus was going to, I guess, serve as sort of the second coming um, of their, like a rise to power for them,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess, and that would be in like that would be going against the consult. But it seems to me, whether or not it's, it could be Kellis, or it could be someone else, in which case, that contradiction wouldn't necessarily exist. But they're trying to rally everyone behind, I guess, some sort of cause that I would imagine is going to involve some sort of leader figure. I don't think that's Mathanet himself, but I'm also, seeing with the way this has started off with the vulgar holy war, things maybe aren't starting off so hot. You bring in some new sort of savior, messiah to spin things around for them, gather some hype for whoever that might be. I'm not really sure. I don't have the details worked out, but I feel like that's where Kellis could fit into this. What the consul's up to, maybe using the Nasser Imbors for their means, or something like that. I don't know. I am still missing a lot of pieces, to be honest, but maybe I'm like somewhat on a
Okay.
comprehensible track.
Okay. I'm just curious to see what you're thinking. Like for me, I don't really have the greatest imagination when it comes to like what
All right,
people
that's
are
fine. Well, you
thinking.
read it, so I don't need to. I don't
Hmm.
want to hear what you think they're up to.
Yeah, but at least when I was reading this part of the book when it first came through, I was just like going along. I didn't really sit there and process. Okay, what are people doing? But I feel like now I'm like connecting like actual what's I actually know what's going on in the world. So
Yeah. I'd
it's like
also
night and
I'd love
day.
some more clarity on why the Scarlet Spires have been waging war with the sorcerer priests who start with C. I was better at names this time, so
Sure.
I'm giving myself that break. But yeah, maybe we got some details alluded there earlier, but and
Ilkishan,
Mathanet,
right?
yeah, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Mathanet knows more than us, so I think there's still some information to extract
Well,
there.
it the reason why it was explained at least in the first part. Remember how when Aqua was first introduced, he was meeting with a slave of the Scarlet Spires.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Right.
right. But the thing is, they've been waging war for 10 years, and like that was
Yeah.
kind of the revelation. But I don't know if I did we get like the full rundown on why like why that's
Yeah,
been.
because they killed their supreme, their leader.
Yeah, but I thought that happened very recently.
No, that was 10 years ago.
That okay. All right.
They just kept it
Understood.
quiet.
I got you. Okay. That I okay. 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 Fair enough. Well, in that case, I think that's about it on part three. But that's where I'm at. Um, Jinx, thank you for your clarity as always. And I think this was a pretty good back and forth on a pretty introspective section. So,
Yeah,
uh,
definitely a harder read for most people. Definitely is a moment to take pause and think about just characters or just like situations. And I mean, obviously, well, I guess prostitution somewhat still exists in certain countries and certain places. But just like how women are treated, this should be a an eye opening and thought provoking moments to read. So I always encourage people to try to think in a holistic, a comprehensive view. So don't just take the character's word for grant at face value. Try to get more introspective with the whole situation. What are the actual parts that make up the whole situation, and also listen to other people. Like other people might have like different thoughts on the story that you just didn't even think of. Not even just with the Esmond's situation, but like with Aka's situation or like other parts of the book.
yeah. Hey, it's what
So
we're doing here.
mm,
And yeah, I mean, we hit on it earlier. Reading isn't a substitute for living an experience, but it is an opportunity to do what you can to step into someone else's shoes. And I think this book really provides great venues for that so far. I'm going places where I never, ever would have been before.
yeah,
So it's a wild ride. But all right. Guess we'll see you for part four.
part 4.